Hey guys, welcome back to Pixel Street Videos. I am John Hansen, and I have been playing Overwatch 2 for the last 2 weeks with media and press, and it has been one of the best gaming experiences I've had in quite a while. If you have watched any of our content before, you should know that Overwatch is one of my favorite games of all time, although I had fallen off the last couple years since Blizzard kind of just, you know, abandoned it to die to focus on Overwatch 2. And generally, Overwatch 2, as it is right now, this is not a sequel. This is essentially just a free-to-play re-release. It's got a battle pass, it's got a few new heroes, it's got new maps and everything. This isn't a sequel yet until the PvE and the story mode comes on later down the line, but overall, this is great stuff right here. It's really invigorated the game in my opinion, so yeah. I'm gonna go through, and this is my review for Overwatch 2. A lot has certainly happened since the first Overwatch released in 2016. A pandemic, the rise of battle royales, a lot of departures from the Overwatch team, what feels like a record number of controversies for Activision Blizzard, and the abandonment of any new suitable content to the first game. Needless to say, the wait for a much needed upgrade to Overwatch's PvP has been a long time coming and very overdue. That is why I am so happy to say that Overwatch 2 is undoubtedly still the best hero shooter on the market. Even so, without the story content that is coming later, it's hard to call this a full sequel. Many of the new systems put into Overwatch 2 make a lot of sense to implement nowadays. A battle pass, free-to-play, and in-game store microtransactions have proven to be an effective way to keep players coming back as long as the game gets ample event updates. It's surprising that they didn't do this years ago, but even so, free-to-play is very exciting for the future and growing the fan base. That being said, this is essentially a re-release of Overwatch in a new format rather than a new game entirely. The shift to 5v5 is something we have known about for a long time now and could have been done at any time in the previous game. Adding in the new push mode, some maps, and 3 heroes are not unlike content drops that we used to get in the first game regularly. It doesn't make this feel like a new game. It's rather a big update that we would have gotten before, but that update was delayed for years while the first game just suffered. Even the stellar new ping system feels like it could have been implemented at any time much sooner than it was. Blizzard very obviously felt like they needed to make a sequel and held content back from the first game to make this sequel feel like its own thing. The biggest update in terms of gameplay is push. Of about the 50 estimated push matches I think I've played since the earliest of beta tests, I cannot really remember having a game of push that I felt wasn't fun to some degree. These matches are brawls that have everyone beating the snot out of each other in a brutal game of tug-of-war. It's a much better substitute for the Assault 2CP mode that used to be in the first game. For the casual player, the loss of a tank in the 5v5 format might not feel that significant. For the more dedicated Overwatch player, it's a big deal. Tanks in the first game struggled with a lot of enemy crowd control abilities, but in Overwatch 2 they have been powered up to be brawlers, and are probably in the best spot they have ever been. Besides the GOATS meta years ago, I don't really think there's been a better time to play the Overwatch tank role. The way they are now essentially makes 5v5 a necessity because they are so powerful and can take over a match. The same excitement can't really be said for support heroes. While they have more survivability, the loss of many abilities to slow down flanking enemies means a support needs to have an exit strategy available at all times. It's no longer always viable for teammates to bail you out of tough situations. I don't think supports are in a bad situation, but there may be a learning curve for surviving long stretches with them. As a new inclusion to the hero roster, I think support hero Kiriko is great. She's a very fun hero to play, and is my favorite of the new additions at launch, which also includes Sojourn and Junker Queen. She has a lot of charm to her, and I love her teleportation ability and ultimate Kitsune Rush. While we have not gotten Kiriko's cinematic short quite yet, her voice lines and interactions really nail home a character who is fun to get to know and is a blast to play. Not to say that any Overwatch character is bad, but near the end of Overwatch 1's support, it kind of felt to me like Blizzard was running out of ideas. Baptiste, I think is still the most boring character on the roster, but the inclusion of characters like Junker Queen and Kiriko show that the team still has plenty of ammo left to make quality characters with interesting aspects to them, both in gameplay and in lore. As for the damage heroes, they mostly feel the same, although some have definitely been held back with the initiative to allow everyone to move freely more often. Characters like Tracer, Sombra, Pharah, and Genji can almost run around with no restraint. Your ability to take them down now relies on your skill with aiming instead of getting close enough to stop them in their tracks with a stun. This makes the swap between games really difficult for characters like Cassidy, whose stun grenade in the first game is no longer here. Comparing the meta in Overwatch 2 to how it is ending in the first Overwatch is a night and day difference. Stuns and shields are significantly toned back, which is great for the general movement of the game. There were times where the meta became stagnant because all anyone wanted to do was sit behind a shield and position themselves to get an easy stun and kill. Now the meta is much more fluid with the vast array of high mobility damage and support heroes and tanks that can brawl themselves out of a lot of trouble. One of the best aspects about Overwatch 2 is how much work has been put into not just the new heroes, but the returning ones. Everyone here has tons of new voice lines and interactions with others that before they never would have a conversation with. For example, one of my favorites is where Ashe will say to Ana that she heard that Ana is a great shot, but she believes she's better. Ana then retorts by saying that Ashe's head is big enough to make her an easy target. This is just one example in an ocean of personality that brings Overwatch 2 to life. Every hero also has an updated look, which is great to see, and even some of the returning maps have new time of days when you play them. The aesthetics used in Overwatch 2 are great, and that will only get better with time as new content and skins, events, and new heroes and maps are added to the game. Sure, some of these things are not something you'll see highly praised on the back of the box or by a lot of people, but the Overwatch world itself is more alive than ever here, even before the story and PvE content has arrived. While I can't say that Overwatch 2 really earns the sequel title, I can say the game is a ton of fun and still one of my favorite video games of all time. When I'm playing Overwatch 2, I'm having the time of my life. When I'm not playing, I am wishing I was playing Overwatch 2. With the shift to free-to-play, no one has any real reason not to give it a try if they were interested, but afraid to try a new kind of shooter. You probably won't feel this is a true sequel either until the PvE content comes out later, but the shift to 5v5 and the charm these heroes bring to the game reinvigorate Overwatch 2 to the point that it's okay for it to feel like the same game you've been playing since 2016. It is still one of the best multiplayer shooters on the market, and the game that I will drop countless hours of my life into. Our final score for Overwatch 2 is 10 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching our review. Let me know in the comments what you think. Maybe a 10 out of 10 is a bit strong in your opinion, but like I said, this is one of my favorite video games of all time. It's not a sequel. It doesn't feel like a full sequel, let's just be honest, but it's still, it's an update that Overwatch sorely needed. I think the gameplay feels probably the best it's felt since 2016 or 2017 in Overwatch. It's been a long time coming. But yeah, like the video if you like it, subscribe to see any of our future videos, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye!